Right now, because I'm normally with my kids and we hanging out. When it comes to my family, everything else is behind me. But,
plus they're going to charge like $30 or $40 more for it than what they should, anyways.
Probably as well. So, but I think that he'll do good in the beginning, the first 4 rounds maybe. But I think as time goes on, kind of walking him down and using his strength, will slow Amir Khan down, and eventually we'll get stopped in the later rounds.
All right, you agree with him?
Yeah, I do. I see it much the same way. I mean, I picture Khan, using a jab, being quick, though I'm not quite sure how quick he'll be at 155. Moving up 2 weight divisions, Khan was super fast at 140. I expect him to be slightly faster than Canelo, who's not a particularly slow guy. But, yeah, I expect Khan to, pick his shots, use lateral movements, and I expect him, just like Kermit, I expect him to do well in the early rounds, because Canelo has a tendency to box. Even though he's a bigger guy, he won't always impose his size on you initially. So, yeah, I see him picking his shots, using lateral movement, for the early rounds. And then Canelo starts to impose his will. He starts landing accurate, hard shots. And, he's going to be massive in there. Khan couldn't take a clean shot at 140. I don't see him taking a clean shot against a guy who's essentially going to be a light heavyweight in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be – I mean, Khan might come out, win the first 2 or 3 rounds, and get knocked out in the 4th round with 1 punch.
Yep.
But,
could happen at any moment.
So, Kermit, do you think that Canelo will ever step in the ring with Gennady Golovkin?
I doubt it. I don't think so. Canelo's been hurt as well.
Miguel Cotto.
I don't know if you ever noticed, but I did hurt him in the fight when I fought him in the 1 round. But I honestly don't think that Canelo will step it up to 160 where he has a belt and fight Triple G.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I mean, the more I hear what's coming out of Canelo's camp, the less I think the fight happens. I mean, just what was it, yesterday or the day before? Canelo said that Golovkin needs to earn his shot at Canelo. Yeah, and I just find that absurd. I mean, he's the mandatory for the WBC title. He owns half the titles, in the division, 22 knockout streak. The guy has
most of the guys in the top 10.
Right, he's beaten 7 top 10 guys. I mean, what more
guys I think could give Canelo a run.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Murray's no slouch in my opinion. I mean, a lot of people don't know these people because they're based out of Europe, but they're quality fighters. I mean, Martin Murray arguably beat Sergio Martinez in Argentina. I think that's absurd. But part of me thinks that it's not necessarily Canelo saying this. Part of me thinks that it's Golden Boy, and they want to milk the cash cow before he gets beat.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's honestly, I think Canelo's questioning himself too. I mean, I don't want to put it all on Golden Boy on himself, but I think that I mean, as a fighter, if you really truly feel that you're the best, then you would step it up and fight, just like Mayweather has done. Mayweather has,
I mean, you would demand a fight.
And he's done it. He fought Canelo 154, and he beat Canelo. I mean, fair and square. So I think that Canelo needs to stop those excuses and step it up and fight. Fight the best.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he had trouble with Laurie too.
Yeah. I mean, you can't sit here and say Golovkin hasn't earned a shot, all while bringing a guy up 2 divisions, a chinny guy up 2 divisions. I mean, I'm not good at math, but that doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
I agree with you guys, man. He needs to step it up and fight Triple G. I mean, if not, that's just gonna hurt him, in the long run.
Yeah, and I think Triple G, just from merchandise sales they had last week, everything else, I think that he is the next great pay-per-view attraction, and Canelo better jump on it while he can before Golovkin ends up moving up in weight and chasing Kovalev or Ward.
Yeah, I mean, after what we saw last week, I think Golovkin could probably go up and beat Bute and Jack. I mean, Golovkin stopped Bute, with big gloves and headgear on. I mean, Bute and Jack can, fight close decisions with him, with smaller gloves.
Yeah, but Kermit, I know you got a fight tomorrow, so you're probably wanting to get to bed tonight or go home and play with your kids, one way or the other. But it was awesome having you on again, just like always, and maybe you can stop back in next week to tell us about your big win.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure being on, Mike.
All right, thanks a lot, Kermit.
All right, thank you. You guys
have a good one. Glad to have you on.
All right, guys, that was Kermit Cintron, former welterweight champion of the world, talking about his fight with Eduardo Flores tomorrow night. Let's move on. So I think we both got Khan getting knocked out probably within the first 5 rounds, correct, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he lasts a little longer, but he's not the boxer mover Mayweather and Lara is. So, yeah, I see a mid-round stoppage, but I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo, drags it out a bit. But, yeah, that sounds about right to me.
All right, so we move on to the undercard. You got Frankie Gomez against Mauricio Herrera. What's your opinion on that fight?
All right, so a guy I know, Michael Montero, shout out to him, good dude, met him in, Denver. He thinks that Frankie Gomez is going to have a coming out party. Frankie Gomez is a talented guy. I like what I see in terms of skill sets. He's got good pop, good speed, good combinations. He's a well-rounded guy. The problem with him is that he has commitment issues. In the span of 2014 to 2016, his weight has fluctuated from 140 all the way up to junior middleweight. From what I hear, things seem to be going well in his camp, and that's a good sign. So if, the reports are true, everything's going okay, I may agree with Michael Montero here that this is Frankie Gomez's coming out party, and I expect him to have his best performance of his career. But I don't expect it. Granted that, I don't expect it to be easy. Mauricio Herrera is a guy I really like, really crafty, high IQ. He works the jab a lot, arguably beat Danny Garcia. No, actually, nobody's had an easy time with the guy except...
Yeah, Danny Garcia had trouble with him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Herrera beat him, but the only person that I think had a clear win over him was Kareem Mayfield, which is kind of odd. But Garcia had a tough time with him, Mike Alvarado, on and on and on. I see Gomez winning a decision. Herrera's a tough guy. I see him winning I think it's a 10-rounder, so I see him winning a 7-3, 6-4 type decision.
All right. I don't think Gomez has been real greatly tested either. I think Herrera's got a lot more experience. Kind of heard about the commitment issues like you. I'm going to take Herrera in an upset by decision.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
If they'll allow him to win a decision.
Yeah.
We're on a Golden Boy undercard. So we'll talk about some fights like that later in the show when we reviewed last week.
Yeah, well, Gomez he's got the money back at him, so, and Herrera's been stiff before, so no surprise.
Okay, so I'm going to change my prediction to this. Everybody's going to think Herrera won by decision, but Gomez will win by decision. How about that?
Fair enough. Would
they let you bet in Vegas like that?
I don't think it goes like that, unfortunately. I don't know. You might give them a phone call, give them a ring, see how they warm to that. I don't know.
I don't think they'll like that. David Lemieux versus Glenn Tapia, which I think is an interesting fight.
It is an interesting fight. We're going to see what Lemieux and Tapia has left. Tapia took a ferocious beating against James Kirkland. He got his ass whooped.
They've both taken pretty good beatings their last couple fights there.
Yeah, and I actually think Lemieux's beating was a little less severe. Golovkin kind of played with him a bit. He beat him up with a jab. He wasn't really landing a ton of power shots. He did every once in a while until he decided to get him out of there. I think Lemieux has more. I've never seen Tapia as a world beater anyways, or as even a top 10 guy, because, not only did he get his his butt beat by Kirkland, but he also lost to Soro, a French fighter. Good fighter, by the way. But he lost to him as well. He was outboxed. I see David Lemieux stopping him, maybe 4 rounds. It could be competitive, though. I mean, Lemieux doesn't have a great chin. Tapia could potentially land something. But if I were a betting man, I'd bet on Lemieux, 3, 4, 5 rounds.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lemieux in 5 or 6. I think he's just got more talent than Tapia. That brings us to the final fight, which to me is very interesting. Chisora versus Kermit Pulev. What's your take on that? Chisora's coming off a 5-fight win streak after getting knocked out by Fury, but those 5 fights, he didn't fight the greatest competition. So what's your take on that fight?
No, I think Chisora's been smart. I think he's been building his brand back up. He's always been one to promote fights well. I mean, I think he spit in one of the Klitschko's faces. He's a guy who can sell a fight well. Unfortunately, and not only that, he did give Tyson Fury a tough fight in their first go-round, was completely outboxed in the rematch.
Yeah, and actually he went the distance with, was it Vitali?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. He put up, and I mean, he put up a better fight than most people do. I think he might have hit Vitali once.
Yeah, well, Vitali, unlike Vladimir, has a chin, so that didn't bother him too much. Chisora, to me, though, he's always been a fringe contender kind of guy. He's always been a top, almost like a gatekeeper. You beat him to break into the top 10. He's a good fighter. Pulev, to me, though, is underrated. I think he's a good, big, technical fighter, not one-punch type power, but, long amateur background. The experience with Vladimir Klitschko, I'm sure, helped him. I think Klitschko ends up I think Pulev ends up outboxing him, using his jab, utilizing distance, pot-shotting him with a right hand from time to time. And I think Pulev's chin is good enough to take a clean Chisora shot. I think Pulev wins a fairly clear decision, breaks into the top 10, puts himself back in title contention.
I agree. I watched a lot of Pulev fights, YouTube, whatever, DVDs I had, before he fought Klitschko for the title. And I actually convinced myself he actually had at least a small chance to be successful in that fight. Was really disappointed in the way he fought that fight. I don't know if he froze up a little bit or if he just wasn't as good as what I thought he was. But I'm going to stick with him one more. But I think this fight for him could be a make-or-break fight, and the same thing for Chisora. So in a situation like that, I think Chisora is a guy with talent that I don't think has always been committed to training really hard also.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a make-or-break fight for both men. I mean, if Chisora loses, he might as well give up his hopes. I don't like to tell a man that, but he's had his shots. He's had numerous shots, and if he doesn't win, just pack it in. They're better British heavyweights, anyways.
All right, that brings us to last week, which actually 2 or 3 really good fights out of the 5 there. We'll start off with the Durrell brothers real quick. You had Anthony knocking out Caleb Truex in 1 round, which I think we both predicted, and then Andre Durrell, a unanimous decision over Blake Caparello. What was your take on the Durrell brothers?
Anthony looked good, which is funny because most people thought Andre was the more talented of the two, and I still think he is. I just don't think he has the mental confidence his brother has. But, Anthony Durrell looked good. He went out and did his business. I thought Truex would last a little bit longer, because he's done some rounds with some quality fighters. But Anthony, he hurt his guy, didn't let him off the hook, got him out there in a round. This will probably put him, into title contention very quickly. Anthony Durrell, he just didn't utilize his full potential. Caparello is a decent guy. He's like a top 20, he's a top 20, top 30 kind of guy.
He's a solid fighter.
He's a solid fighter.
But he should not give a top 10 fighter that much trouble.
No, well, and, when you're Andre Durrell and you let Blake Caparello, who, can barely punch himself out of a wet paper bag, knock you down, it might be – I don't think it's particularly good for Andre Durrell, who already has mental issues.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that Andre, after he got knocked down, he looked pretty good. He boxed, but I don't like his inside game, not a bit. I mean, he squares up too much. And I figure from a guy who's a little, I thought a little better schooled than that, he wouldn't make those sort of mistakes. But if Andre gets another title shot, I'm not sure, unless he's fighting Tutanov, I'm not sure I see him winning another title.
Well, I'm sure with what he's got behind him, he'll probably get another title shot. But
probably
getting a shot and winning it are two entirely